To a cloud. Come on in. Hi, hi, hi. So I was doing this thing where I have different set. Hi, Jean. Hi, everybody. I have like different sets of headphones because I forget to plug them in, and then sometimes they don't always work. So the sound check was on my end randomly, even though I was just in a Zoom. Anyway, that's some stuff about my personal day. Hey, everyone, welcome, welcome. Come on in. I am recording this session. I am bringing my beautiful people into the Zoom. My name is Siobhán O'Loughlin, and I am your host for this hour session that we're having actually just the two of us, just me and David, hanging out for this hour for this Ask Me Anything at Edge Studio. David is at my Zoom right today. Are you always on my Zoom right? Good afternoon to you, David. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, remember last 2 weeks ago, I had a little sign I made, right? Hi, I'm your Zoom right or left, whichever it was. Anyway, hey,
Hi,
hello
David.
everyone. Hello.
Everyone, thanks for being here. It's great to see you all. Hey, holler to everybody who was at our home studio show and tell last night and doing a double header. Yes, so I love it. We love to see that. That was wild. Everybody, we started our first ever home studio show and tell. Yes, and some people were sleeping, and I totally get it. That is very reasonable. We got to take care of ourselves. But we've started our new program, which is a free community event to showcase our three voice actors in the community and their specific home studios. It was really, really awesome. I will be putting that on YouTube as well as today's session. So all of those recordings will be available to you. I'm seeing faces that I saw last night, and that really means so much to me. Thank you for being with us in all the ways that you can. And if you are a person where this time frame doesn't work great for you, but evenings do, then we're going to be offering that next month as well. However, if this is your jam, we will not be taking this jam away. We are simply adding things on. What's up, Micah? It is wild that it's 11 degrees out there. That is a lot. Yeah, it's a little cold. Um, just quickly to talk about a few events before we get into the Q&A here. I just want to drop this link to you all. This is our rainy New Jersey, indeed, East Coasters. Oh boy. This is our general link tree link, which I encourage you to bookmark. It has kind of everything going on at Edge, including updated Zooms for things that are the free Zoom offerings we are going to be having now because we're adding to the list, which is very exciting. This is our class schedule. So we have a lot of different classes and all kinds of things voiceover. Two that I'm going to, well, actually, I'm going to highlight a few. The first is the Investigate voiceover class for everybody who's just dipping their toes in, figuring out where to begin. Another fantastic class that I highly recommend is with Jen Sims, her Auditions 101. Highly recommend. It's amazing. And if you were at the home studio session last night, I got a bunch of emails with people asking all kinds of very specific questions about their studios. Obviously, in our free programming, we do not restrict it. Actually, this group of 50 right now is a lovely intimate group for us. There were 200 people at the home studio show and tell last night. So if you are like, why didn't my questions get answered? Because we don't gatekeep our free events. And it just means that it's not possible for us to take care of everybody so specifically. However, we've got programs for that too. A group class of Home Studio 101 with Dan Friedman is a very affordable rate to get into figuring out how you will begin your home studio. For folks who are getting already on that path and trying to figure out more very specific things, like lots of the questions we saw last night, I highly encourage a consultation with Dan Friedman. I've never regretted any of the one-on-ones in voiceover training that I've booked in my life, and I've booked a number of them. And you know what? I will continue to. So I just want to offer those things on our end that we provide over here. In addition to our Foundation Studies bundle, which has a lot of great offerings for folks who are figuring out how to lay that literal and metaphorical foundation both. Okay, so those are my announcements. Thank you for being with us. It's really great to be here. If this is your first time at our Ask Me Anything session, welcome, welcome. I encourage you to have your Zoom experience as you like it. I prefer to do this in the gallery mode. You can manage your viewing settings at the top right corner. There's a little view button, and you can have speaker mode as well. If you just like to look at me or David specifically when we're speaking today, I don't blame you because we're so cute. So that's fine with me. And additionally, in your chat, that if you're on a desktop, that should be on the right-hand side, and that's where we will be engaging. If you're on a tablet or a phone, I think it's probably going to pop up, which might overwhelm you. So maybe you prefer to listen if that's the case. I highly encourage the desktop Zoom experience, but how we will do things, people are already getting into it. We will just throw questions, comments, and letters of, what is it, February? Inquiries about, my address for Valentine's you want to send me, all of that stuff that can go in directly into the chat. That's not because I don't want to hear your beautiful voice. It's just because I want to truly try to get to everybody in a way that we couldn't so much yesterday, or as many questions as we can answer, David, and I will try to. David, have I missed anything? Are you doing well? Did you enjoy the event last night?
I loved it. How cool. Yeah, for anyone who wasn't on last night, definitely watch the YouTube. Three voice actors just shared their journey in building a home studio, and there's a lot to learn. Really interesting stuff. So yeah, highly
Yes.
encourage it. Even if you have a studio that you think is great, I'd watch it because we found that a number of voice actors felt very similarly about microphone boom arms. I'm saying that because Dina, who was one of those people, mentioned that last night, and she's on today's call. And there was just some really interesting stuff. You get some ideas and suggestions. So yeah, watch it.
Yeah, and for folks who are like, what are Siobhán and David actually talking about right now? We're talking about our first version of a new event that we're hosting called the Home Studio Show and Tell, which was David's idea, where he was like, we're on Zoom, why aren't we like checking out people's spaces? And we showcased three people, two of whom are here today, Dina and Amber. Hey, Amber. They were so amazing. And what we're really doing is just sort of exploring how people set up their own spaces and what we can learn from them and their challenges and triumphs in this creation. It is not yet on YouTube, Terry. I'm really just getting through the emails this morning, even though it's already 1 p.m. Like, how does the time, who knows? But it will be up by this evening because I'm going to get to that right after this session. Also, I'm going to drop my email here in the chat. And we have a lot of requests for next month to have a beginner studio setup. So if you feel that you've really got something that's kind of just starting out that people might be able to relate to, and that they would want to, that you would feel comfortable showing off to kind of help people, to show folks something that you're building, that you do auditions with, maybe you've even done a few gigs with, but is not in any way what you might call advanced. That's my email, and I'd love to hear from you because we want to profile someone like that next month. So, okay, that was a fabulous thing. Keep abreast of our newsletter and socials, and we'll be posting about the next one very shortly. Thanks everyone for everything and all that you are. Thanks to Dina and to Amber for joining us. It was really, really just wonderful to get to hang out in a different way on the Zooms. All right, so now if we're ready, we're just going to jump into Q&A and talk all things voiceover specific with me and David today. So, okay, great to see how that everybody's doing, and hello from everyone. Icy Hudson Valley, freezing Colorado, rainy New Jersey. Boy, February, right? It's really what a joyful month. So Michael is asking about rates. Love these kinds of questions. He says, my local NBC affiliate asked for my rates, so I went to the rate card here at Edge. My rates ended up being 4 times what they normally pay because they use Internet Jock. Should I try to compete with sites like Internet Jock? My market is number 106. How much should a market's ranking influence my rates? Okay, David, how do you want to tackle this question? It's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Someone emailed me just a day or two ago with a very similar story. However, the rate they were getting was a sixth of the price of this voice actor's rate. Here's the thing, guys. When it comes to rates, of course, the client wants to pay the least they can, and you want to get the most you can. And You have to find some compromise typically, but you want the compromise to be driven from your side. And so there are different types of clients, and you need to understand who you are working with so you know how to drive the chain, or the train rather. um, if a client is very accustomed to going to an online site like Internet Jocks or Fiverr or something and paying just a couple of dollars, like literally like $5, $10 for a voiceover, it's going to take a lot of education from you to get them to understand why they should pay your amount. So that's one end of the story. The other end of the story for you is to make sure that you know what your time is worth and really not go below that rate. Because if you undersell yourself, it's not good for your own well-being, for your own career, for your own success, but also it devalues the entire industry, right? Because if you are a professional and say, well, I can do it. I want $500, but I'm willing to drop it to $150, a quarter of the price to match what you want to pay. The client's never going to pay more than that ever again. You've lost bargaining power. The whole industry has lost bargaining power. So I always encourage voice actors to have a rate that they think that is fair to them and fair to the industry and fair to other voice actors, and stick to that rate and educate the client. But can the client be educated? Do they even care? Uh, One thing I found, two easy ways actually to educate the client. One is to make them aware of the fact that they probably spend a lot of money on their logo because that's what people see, right? Everyone sees the company's logo, and so why would the client ever want to just skimp on a logo and have a cruddy logo? They spend money on that typically. Well, it should be the same with the audio logo, with the voiceover of their business. Sometimes that sort of resonates in the minds of the clients. Um, the other thing you can do is you can show the client a before and after. If the client is paying a couple of dollars for things and you find a crappy version of a commercial they've aired, like a local commercial or their phone system, and it sounds horrible, sample a couple of seconds of it and then re-record it. And then send the client a note that says, look, this is what I can offer you. Just take a listen. And that's it. And let them listen, and they'll hear 5 seconds of their current recording and 5 seconds of you redoing the recording and say, this is the difference that I can offer. Yeah, it costs more money, but makes sense to me to spend more money on it. Anyway, you may need to educate the client or just walk away from the client. And there's nothing wrong with walking away from a client. We do all of the time at Edge. We know what our time is worth and what we should be offering, what we should be receiving for what it is that we offer. And if a client can't afford our rates, we say, that's fine. We're going to give you a top-notch voice actor. The recording will be high quality. And if you don't want that, if you don't want to pay for that, or you want to take a chance and maybe get that somewhere else, maybe not, that's fine. And it's amazing to us. And one of our favorite stories is when clients come back to us and say, you know what? I went to Fiverr, I went to Internet Jocks, we paid $10 for something. It was pretty crappy, and now we're coming back. And then, of course, they say, but now we need it like tomorrow. And we say, great, we can do it for tomorrow, but now we have our rush fee. So now it's costing me even more. And they have to chalk it up at that point. So that's some things to think about. Oh, you know what else? Let me throw this in. Man, this is a long answer. I'm sorry, but make sure when you speak about money with clients, you are completely confident and comfortable when discussing this. It's a topic that so many voice actors are scared to broach with their clients, but you have to. Everyone needs to know about the money. The client wants to know about it. There's no reason to skirt it. There's no reason to hesitate. When you talk about the dollars and cents of it, be completely comfortable and confident with your thoughts, with what your statements are. One of the worst things that occur on our end when we are hiring voice actors is dealing with a voice actor who can't just tell us what something costs. When we say to a voice actor, hey, here are the specs on a job, and we give them exact specs, how long it is, when they have to record it, so and so. We say, what is your rate? If they say, well, I kind of like to get, this much money, but that doesn't float for us. We want a voice actor to say, thank you for supplying the specs. That makes it super easy. The rate is X. And then we can say, great, we can do it or we can't do it. And if we can't, they might say, okay, hopefully they say, if you change your mind, come back. I offer a quality service, and that's what my service and my time is worth. And, hope to work with you. If not this time, maybe some other time. That's a voice actor that we can respect. So talk about money comfortably and confidently.
And practice doing so. It's so hard. I find it
Yeah.
difficult myself, but the more that I do it and practicing it with each other, and when you communicate with your peers and you're asking about rates and talk about how they got there and how those interactions went. And, I think it's like a really important practice. Michael, I hope that was helpful. And I'm checking and I haven't heard from him. So I think he's doing well. David, I appreciate that comprehensive uh, answer. And that also brings me to a nice segue, because Luke was asking if a Facebook group is the same as a Facebook business account. They are different things. So a Facebook business page is your professional facing corner of Facebook, where you're probably not posting, photos of your breakfast or your night out drinking or whatever, but you're posting the things that you do for your business. However, I am going to launch a poll here for the first time in our Ask Me Anything. Ooh la la, wonders never cease, because I'm actually very curious about this question. Are you active in any Facebook groups for voiceover? And I thought this was a nice segue because I was just asking about how people, when you interact with your peers in the community and, talking about rates is a great kind of interaction to have with fellow voice actors. And I'm curious about how you do it. If you talk in a Facebook group, if you have a Slack or a Discord. If you don't know what Slack or Discord is, don't worry about it. They're just other apps for dialogue in the workplace or amongst communities. And okay, and then I'm asking if people don't interact on any of these programs with other voice actors, but you might be interested. Okay, so we got 42. I'm going to give it a few more seconds to see up to 43 people. Okay, thanks for engaging in this, y'all. It's okay, 44, yeah, 45. Wonderful. So it's run a minute. So here we go. Let's post this. So what I'm seeing is that, yes, at 13, oh, okay, there's a no at 16% or 35% rather. That's what I thought. My feeling is that Facebook groups are becoming less of a thing that people enjoy. I know that there's a movement for people to be on Slack and Discord, but and there's also kind of right behind, we've got people who are interested in some of these outlets. Thank you so much. We do have our community forum at Edge Studio, and David, Sarah, and I just had a meeting about how we want to make that an even better resource for folks to talk to each other about the things that they are doing. So cool, appreciate it. Little survey in the middle of all this.
Yeah, I think that's fun. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you. And I will post the link to our community forum as well, as a place to kind of get more interaction. I know yesterday there were lots of questions we just could not possibly answer. But thanks, Luke. Thanks for prompting that question, and we will keep doing it. So here we go. Geddes is asking about the Casting Call Club and if it's a legitimate voiceover business. Geddes, are you asking about that specific thing, or if animation is a legitimate voiceover business? Yeah. Hello. Hi, Geddes. Bringing you up to hello. Hi, darling. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So can you clarify your question for me?
Yeah, I've been asking everybody, or to you and David, saying that hold on, is if the Casting Call Club website is a legitimate VO business. Is it, or is it not? Because
I'm yeah, I'm
recently I've been I recently signed up for that club, and I've been casted for 2 animated projects recently. 2 of them are non-union.
Okay. David, do you have a response?
Just want to know your opinions on that one.
Yeah, my opinion, or I don't have an opinion. My response is that I'm not familiar enough with them to be able to provide any meaningful response. But if you've been cast twice through them, I assume, right, your 2 animation jobs through them,
Yes.
to whatever degree it's legitimate, I guess, right? Unless they're, paying you pennies on the dollar or something of the sort. But if you're making an acceptable industry rate and you're getting work and you're profiting, in other words, you're not paying more than your getting out of it seems like a good thing to me. But
And
again, I'm just not familiar enough.
yeah, I just wanted to
It,
earn more credits and build up my acting resume.
yeah,
Mm.
if anyone else on this forum is familiar enough to provide a meaningful response, please put it in the chat so Siobhán can let us know.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Geddes. It's great to see you as always. As always. Yeah, the other thing I would say too about projects, or if you're not sure of the legitimacy, is if the result is something that you're proud of too, right? Like if the thing that they're churning out with your content is like, I don't know. I think that's also something to consider too, is like how you feel about the end results of the things that you're getting from this source, in addition to what David said, which is being reasonably paid and reasonably treated and directed and all of that as well, right? Um, so, okay, let's keep that going. And we've got people who are saying that they've been on it, which is wonderful. So hello to Chris. Chris is asking, a lot of projects on Voice 123 ask for an actor quote for the project, but then they don't give details about the project. So David, what do you recommend in the case where that happens, where they're asking, it's a little bit unclear about the details that you're missing, Chris. If you're with us in this moment and you want to drop more in the chat about the actual details that you are missing regarding the project itself. But
Yeah, I
David,
think
what do
I
you think?
could take a gander at that. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Chris, even though we have a casting department here, so we don't really go through Voice 123, I'm very familiar with them. I know the CEO very well, and as I do with most of the other online sites, and we all we all end up in the same boat, whether it's the those who work at Voice 123 or those of us in Edge Studios casting department or with agencies. Clients forget that you can't read their mind. They forget to give you details. It happens every single day. And there's an example that I love to reference when talking about this topic. It's when we get an email, which, by the way, this happens on a fairly regular basis. We will get an email or a voicemail from a prospective client who says, hey, we need a voiceover. What does it cost? That's it. They don't tell us how many words there are to record, how many different voice actors they need, how many different languages it may be translated, recorded, and there was absolutely no detail. It's just how much does it cost? And we refrain from saying, well, it's X dollars if you have one word to record, or it's $10 million if you want, that 10 audiobooks in 20 different languages. I mean, we refrain from any, sarcastic remark because I don't think the intention is to be meaningless from the client. They just don't understand that there are details. So you have to do your best. And this is a time, again, whenever you can reach out to the client to do so. But through Voice 123 and other online casting sites, you can't really do that. It's easy for us because clients come directly to us and say, hey, what does it cost? We can respond and say, hey, thanks for your interest. We'd love to work with you. Can you tell us? And then we list out some questions. If you are in a situation when you can ask the questions, then do so. When you're in the situation in which you cannot ask the questions, then do some research. Very often, looking at the sample script, the audition, you can sort of pull some figurings out and figure out, well, it looks sort of promotion salesy, so it's probably a commercial, maybe a web commercial, maybe TV or radio, or you might be able to pull out some references or perspectives within the copy that make you realize that it's a narration. You may be able to research the client online and find out what they do typically. And if there's no client name in the audition, sometimes you take the actual words from the audition and Google them. It will bring up another literature from that company, and you realize, oh, the same sentence that's in the audition script was actually in a magazine advertisement from this particular company, and you kind of put one and one together and think, well, it's probably that company. And then you can research that company and figure out what it is that they're doing. And then you can go to the final step. And if you're dealing with an agent, you can say to the agent, can you fill in some information? I'd love to give you a meaningful price. But what will help me give you a price is if I also know this, and this. You have to do your best. The other thing to say is if you're given a range, which sometimes happens on the online casting sites. So, for example, if a client says, we're willing to pay between this lower dollar amount and this upper dollar amount, I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure that I've read that typically the clients will go with a price that's somewhere between the middle to the slightly higher than the middle price. So for example, if the client says we're willing to pay between $100 and $200, on average, that client may be paying between $50 and $75. So don't feel pressure to have to say, man, they're willing to pay between 100 and 200. So I'll go for 100, the low price. So, I have more chance of getting the job, because clients don't seem to necessarily go for the lowest bidder.
Thank you, David. Again, super comprehensive. I hope that was helpful. And yes, you nailed it exactly what Chris was saying, like, that they the things that they're leaving out when they're posting these listings. And it's a lot to navigate. So I'm happy that people feel like they can ask these kinds of questions. This is a question we get a lot, David, about agents and the basics of how do I get an agent, what to look for or stay away from, should you have more than one? These are the questions.
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. That's the whole class. Real briefly, the biggest thing with agents is that there's a lot of discrepancy in our industry. A lot of voice actors say you have to have an agent, and I completely disagree with that. You don't need an agent. There are ultimately 3 ways to market yourself. You can market directly on your own, do all of the work. You don't need an online casting site. You don't need an agent. Do it all yourself. Second way to market is to have someone do it for you, like an agent or a manager. And the third way, of course, is then to use an online site, an online casting site. There are probably some other little ways here and there to market, but those are the 3 general types of ways to market. And when it comes to agents, look, if you want the type of work that an agent can provide, and you're comfortable having someone do the dirty work for you, which I think is great, and you're willing to only pay a small percentage to have them do that work, I think that's terrific. Then you should sign with an agent if you are of the ability to get signed by an agent. The big thing with getting signed by your first agent is that most voice actors tend to be scared to death to talk with the agent. And to this day, I cannot understand why. Agents need you just as much as you need them. It's a relationship. It really is. And you have to go into it understanding that and believing that and feeling confident that they need you as much as you need them. And yeah, sometimes agents seem like they're a little snooty, and sometimes they're incredibly snooty, but that's okay. Just do your thing, and let them know, reach out to an agent. You feel confident, right, in your own ability, that you can match the quality of the other voice actors who they represent. Reach out to the agent and say, you do some great work, throw them a nice compliment. I'd love to explore if it makes sense for us to work together. Let's find the time to talk about it, and then talk about it. And your questions would be, how do they work? What is their time frame? How many auditions might they send you? Do you need to respond to every audition, or only the ones that you think are most appropriate for you? And you want to learn about them, and hopefully they want to learn about you. And if it makes sense, then you sign. A voice actor sent me an email earlier this morning. They had submitted an audition, and the agent wrote back and said, "Nice." Just one word, "nice." And I said, well, use that. I wrote back to the voice actor. I said, that's great that they said nice. At least it wasn't, it's a good 4-letter word. I said, but use that to your opportunity, be like the nice guy, play up that word, I said, follow up. And the voice actor said to me, they wrote back and said, well, I'd love feedback from the agent on my audition. Is it okay to ask? I said, well, yes and no, right? Your job is to have a relationship with the agent. And so that what that means is that you're working with the agent, not for them, but with them. So I said, write back to the agent and say, look, in order for you to send the best auditions to your client, to satisfy your clients, to make your clients happy, if you can provide any feedback to me, I'll do my best so your clients stay happy, right? So it's that relationship that you need to focus on. So anyway, at the end of the day, I think agents, I can't see a reason not to sign with an agent. But it doesn't mean you have to. If I was a voice actor, I would sign with agents if I was pursuing voice acting.
And
But then again, I
David,
would love promo and commercial work. Yeah. Yes, Siobhán.
Yeah, well, and I would say too, and I think this is important for newer folks who have never had an agent and are like sort of dreaming of one, I just also want to like unfortunately pop the beautiful bubble to say that that does not mean your life is going to change. You will get more auditions, but that does not mean you could still go a year or more and not booking anything that your agent sends you. And I just want to like let you know that this is it's a really complicated world out there. And talking about relationship, um, I have a friend who is struggling with their agent by saying like sometimes sending him work, like as David said, that does not would not actually get booked for. And when he said to the agent, hey, can I get really, here are my specifics, can we work on sending me work that I would actually get based on who I am and my skill set, whatever. And the agent said, hey, if you don't want to try everything, then I can just get someone else. I can replace you. So he basically was not willing to work with the voice actor to sort of like meet their needs and try to actually do auditions that he might actually book, as opposed to auditions he's very unlikely to get. I mean, it's really complicated, right? So David and Dina said in the chat that you're interviewing the agent as much as they're interviewing you. So it's a really complicated world, and some people can be unhappy with their agents. And we have many coaches at Edge who don't have agents, who book through their own returning clients or promoting themselves, or they develop a pitch deck and they just like send out those pitches. There's a lot of ways to book work, and agents are one of them. But don't feel bad if you don't have an agent. And also just know that just because when you get one, your first one, it's not necessarily, your life may not change. It might, and I hope it does. But
Yeah, and Siobhán, great information. And let me add on to that. Some agents will actually send you auditions that are not right for you, but they do that intentionally because they want to test you. They want to see, they want to hear your quality. They want to check your feedback, because the agent, rightfully so, should never want to embarrass themselves in front of their clients. So what happens if they send you an audition and you record the audition and you submit it and it sounds really bad? And then the client, rather than the agent sends it to their ultimate client, then the ultimate client gets back to the agent and says, why do I use your agency? Because the quality of the auditions isn't all that good, or the voice wasn't specific for me. So sometimes agents are actually testing you. And so they have no ultimate desire to send off your audition, to pass it to the client. And then there are other agents, and possibly Siobhán, like your friend you mentioned, that will tell their client, like, you pay X amount of dollars for my services, and I'll provide you with X number of auditions. And so the client comes to them and says, okay, we're paying the X number of dollars, and for X number of auditions. And the agent says to themselves, well, geez, I'm supposed to send you X number of auditions, but I don't have that many voice actors who match your vocal type. Yeah, I'll send it to some other voice actors who aren't possibly going to win that job. So again, the agent is just sending it to you just as a filler. They know darn well you'll never get that job. And that happens sometimes. And is that unfair? I guess. But as the voice actor, you're not paying for the service unless you book a job typically. So, at least you're not out money. You're out time, but you're not out of money.
this is such important information. And David, I didn't even think of that, about the number of auditions they're required to like submit to some of these clients. And yeah, and so then to that end, sometimes you can find yourself like, wow, I'm really spending a lot of time on something that I'm very unlikely to get right. I mean, it's just, as if we need to be like, oh my gosh, really? My colleagues, my agents are testing me, but whatever, that's, that's how this industry can be at times. So thank you. Thanks so much. I love this discussion. And if you have more thoughts, if people are happy with their agents, let us know in the chat. Or if if you feel like you're better off, let us know. It's important to understand that we all have really different paths that we're walking here. Kind of going to the other side of, what we do as voice actors. Stacy is asking, David, in what ways and or places could we volunteer or work without pay in the beginning? Like, what are some ways to offer services when you're just trying to get some things, just trying to get some work booked to showcase what you do?
Yeah, that is a fabulous question. Quick history of Edge Studio. Edge Studio was originally a music studio. And at some point, the drugs were so crazy that went on. The drugs and drinking in the studio was just nuts. And I was the only one who never participated in that lifestyle. And so I switched I switched Edge Studio over from music to voiceover. And because what else would I do with all of these soundproofed rooms and microphones? Um, but I didn't want the crazy, whacked out musicians in my studio any longer. And so I turned to voiceover. I didn't know a thing about it. I had no background, no clients. And so I volunteered. I reached out, and by the way, Stacy, now I'm answering your question. I reached out to organizations that I personally believe in, and I offered voiceover. And at the time, day one, all I knew about were commercials. I never knew about this world of narration that's ultimately about 97% of our industry. I just thought, oh, radio and TV ads. And eventually that led to recording some phone systems for other organizations. And one thing led to another. And then one scriptwriter would say, well, thank you for volunteering. I have another client and they're a paying client. And little by little, the Edge Studio was doing quite well in voiceover. And here we are many decades later with, doing lots and lots of voiceover. And so you can volunteer to just about any nonprofit. And I can give you friendly advice, not legal advice, but you might be able to do something with your taxes regarding that if you deal with the right nonprofit organization and get like a 501(c) organization and get tax forms. I'm not sure about that. Edge Studio still donates to organizations that I personally believe in. I think it's the right thing to do. I think that we have the ability to do that. It doesn't mean that you have to, but that is certainly one thing you can do. Also, there are almost every town and library and local government offers reading for the blind, reading for kids, reading for seniors. Senior centers, senior living homes, nursing homes offer readers to come in. It might be a little different now given COVID, but eventually, hopefully, that is no longer a thing. And maybe right now would be a terrific time to actually look into that, because if senior centers have not had anyone come in and read for the past 2 years, which March will be 2 years for all of us with COVID, then it's a terrific time to reach out to them and say, look, I'm thinking that in a couple of months, the mask mandate, in your senior center will be over, to come in and read to seniors, right? Unless you want to read with a mask on. I don't know if you want to try that, but, or maybe you can do it through Zoom. I don't know. Lots of towns have radio stations where newspaper articles and magazines are read. So you can volunteer for that as well. There are lots of opportunities to volunteer your services. There really are.
And all of that is perfect. And I always love when we get into the history of David's music career. But I also want to say, not without getting too specific here, or we're like not going to get into the details of any battles, but we do in the US have primaries coming up and a general. And I want to say, if you're interested in anything local, what's coming up. So we got like state assembly, state senate. So within your community, perhaps there's somebody running, do a little bit of research that you care about, and you can offer to do voiceover for their upcoming videos. Or sometimes they have internal training, like, how to phone bank. They have internal trainings for volunteers. And you can offer to provide voiceover for a local candidate. I say local because, like, your state senate, obviously those people have like real budgets, but a lot more local stuff could actually really respond. And if you're interested in doing political stuff, or even just, kind of commercial type things, that might be a good place that is kind of upcoming in the spring and summer.
Well, Siobhán, I'd like to change one thing you said. Bringing up the political aspect is terrific, the political angle. But I think you can also go to outside of your local government, because look, I don't want to make this a political conversation, but I was pro Obama the first time he ran, and I reached out to his group and said, can I volunteer? I have studios, a couple across the country, whatever. I think we had 5 at the time, and we ended up volunteering and recording, doing some audio work for that campaign. And that was because I'm a supporter of him. That was really exciting for me. So you can do that. And another thing you might want to do is, and by the way, when the pandemic began 2 years ago, this, in fact, Siobhán, you might remember, this came up in a previous Ask Me Anything at some point, maybe a year ago or so. But when the pandemic first began, I reached out to the Washington State Department, because if that was the first state with the COVID issues and or the first case, and I reached out to the various health departments and the Red Cross and all sorts of departments across the U.S. and we ended up doing some volunteer work for a number of organizations. And something else you can do is volunteer wherever it is that you work. And this is a great thing, guys. And this comes up so often. If you work in any organization where there is voiceover, whether it's training videos or compliance videos or a phone system or commercials or presentations for pitch decks, sales promotions, trade shows, whatever, volunteer, right? Say, walk down the hall to whichever group is putting this stuff together and say, hey, I know the subject matter, I know the lingo, we work together, I'd love to narrate this. I've been getting into voiceover. And maybe the company will pay you. Usually that's not the case, but now you become the voice of an organization, and that's cool, right? So you might be able to get some free work there too.
These are all very good. Yeah, these are great conversations. And I think, and 100%, you're right, David. Why not? Like, if there's any organization at all that you feel passionate about in any way, doesn't hurt to reach out. Like, and truly actually could benefit, like to David's point. And I remember, David, when the emails went out, when you were like, all right, we're going to try to help with this COVID initiative and all of that stuff. And I just think it's really wonderful. And the last thing I want to say in terms of paid work is that Suzanne Pinedo, famously at this point, when she was at the doctor's office, was like at her doctor, was like, hey, I noticed that you have this like telephony, your messaging on the phone. It's like, it's kind of like, is it very old? Is it recent? Like, I'm a voice actor and I could offer my services, and they did pay her to do the telephony for her doctor's office. So I mean, some of us market ourselves. It's great. So
Hey,
thank you,
I
Stacey.
get
Great
to,
question.
there's a hotel in Washington, D.C. that I can stay in for free anytime because I did that at the hotel. It was a great hotel, and they had the worst phone system. This is going back probably 15 years ago. And when I was on hold once, I asked for the sales manager and I said, your phone system it doesn't really sound. And the guy stopped me and laughed and said, you know what? It sucks. We hear it all the time. I said, well, guess what? I owned a voiceover studio. And within 5 minutes, we had this little trade, he said, you re-record our stuff and you stay for free. And now it's unfortunate that for me, I still had to hire a voice actor. I had to still pay a voice actor because I'm not a voice actor. You guys can do the recording and do the voiceover, right? It was still a great bargain for me, but for you, it's completely free. And so we barter, and it's terrific. Yeah, you make it happen.
You gotta just make sure you keep going to that hotel so you pay off, the what you paid the voice
Yeah.
actor. Like, you just balance it
Well,
out
they
eventually.
closed they closed during COVID, so it's over.
Oh, well, some stories do have a
But it
little bit
was a
of a
good run.
tragic ending.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate this. And if people also have thoughts about that, they want to pop in. Thanks, Jill. I'm so glad. Oh, it's very cool, David. Great ideas, Siobhán. And Andrew volunteers with the Center for Blind and Visually Impaired, and he reads magazines and newspapers for them. It allows him to practice some narration techniques and engagement in his voice. I love it. That is exactly what we're
Hats
talking about,
off to you.
Andrew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
hats off to
great.
you, and great job doing your thing and making it and continuing to make it happen. I know Jen Sims actually volunteers for a storytelling group for kids in LA as well, and she just provides her talents to it, and it's a wonderful way to continue working, to keep us working when the gigs are low, and to keep us on our toes when the gigs are high. So
And just
from
so everyone
Jeff.
knows, yeah, Jen Sims is one of the coaches at Edge Studio.
Yes, she is awesome. She's the one teaching our auditions 101 that I mentioned at the beginning of the session. Jeff Cohen, question about branding. Love these questions. I'm just starting out and have a very common name. Even worse, there is an actor with my name that has done some well-known voice acting. Ah, Jeff, as I'm about to create a demo, website, and etc., should I consider a pseudonym or a stage name? What are some pitfalls to watch out for, such as zero pre-existing social media presence, online history, etc.? David, do you want to start and I'll piggyback?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts, Fall. I think the biggest pitfall is if you change your name and then a client hires you and sends you a check to your business name and you can't cash it because it's not in your name. That I've heard of happening to voice actors. If you change your name, right, a business name or a pseudonym or something, that's fine. I'll give you some pluses and minuses that come to mind in a moment. But make darn sure you clear it with the government and your bank so you can cash that check, right? Or accept a Venmo payment or however it is that you accept payment. Um, I suspect that having a common name would benefit you because perhaps people recognize it. Perhaps it will come up more easily in search engines as long as you make sure that the actor with that same name is not just only doing voiceover. If they're on stage or on camera, then talk about easy branding. Common name, less common voice. Or I don't know, right off the fame of the other person who already has that name. I don't see a negative, but I don't know. I think I only see positives. That's my thought.
I think it's really going to be up to you. I personally feel if you want to change your name and have a sort of voice actor name, I think go for it. That's fantastic. But they think they're getting that guy, Jeff says. So Jeff, I think and Jeff, are you the one with the yes, you have, okay, I was admiring your Zoom square. It's beautiful. Your lighting is amazing. Yeah, yeah. We love, if people find Jeff in your gallery, he looks fantastic.
I'll let
But
you
so
know.
yeah, see his lighting. I really think maybe use your middle name. Dina says Actors Equity won't allow two people with the same exact name, by the way. Right. Another pitfall that
Yes.
you'll experience. What is good in your favor is if you have currently no online presence. And if you kind of want to come up with something quick and witty and fun and sort of new, I don't know, a first name that starts with the letter Z, maybe like something kind of, I don't really see anything wrong with that, particularly because you don't already have an existence happening. So now's kind of your chance. And if anybody wants to sort of speak that way, speak to that, like Geddes is saying that this is his business name, Geddes Gibbs, and honestly, that's a good name. I don't know anybody named yeah, I don't know anybody with that name, so I think that helps. Dina, I think your name just actually is your name, but it's good. Dina Dahila, it's good, right? So kind of people can feel it out, and if anybody's like, I don't love my name, but I use it, I'd say either way, whatever you pick, just make sure that's going to be your thing, and you're going to stick with that. David.
But let me throw this out there. I think at the end of the day, a client's going to hire you if you have the right voice. Whether your name is easy to pronounce or not, it's whatever. I think that they're going to hire you if you have the right voice. The idea of branding is so you stay top of mind, and I think more branding, more staying top of mind is going to come from how you market yourself and not necessarily your name. So I know everyone might be siding with, change your name at this point because you don't have that, you're not out there already currently on social media. But I don't know, Jeff Cohen, the voice actor, like I said, my gut is to ride off of someone else's fame, take advantage of the opportunity.
The other thing I would say too, in terms of pitfalls to watch out for, such as having zero pre-existing online history, is I'll just give you some quick tips of some things that I suggest, which are before you sort of launch your socials like in a big way, create 5 posts on all the platforms you're going to be using. So if you're starting an Instagram, if you have no followers, do 5 posts. So then when you announce your Instagram, people already see some stuff on there. Like it looks worth following because we know that you're going to be engaging. I will tell you, I don't follow people that I see aren't doing things online. Like why? Why am I going to give them a follow if they're not actively present? And if you're thinking about online history, etc., pro tip, you can ask a friend to create your Wikipedia with a little bit of history about some things you do. You can't make a Wikipedia, but somebody can make one for you, can't they? So that's just a little bit of advice if you want to kind of get the ball rolling on what exists there. And then otherwise you can, sign up for Backstage, sign up for some things that will start to populate in searches about you. So I hope that is somewhat helpful. I can't believe it is 1:52 already. Woo!
Good idea,
But
Siobhán.
thanks, thank you. And Jeff, these are actually everybody really fantastic questions and conversation today. I appreciate you all. Also, everyone's looking really, really great on this wintry day. I'm enjoying Chris's setup. I don't know if Eris has a whole like a fake background, but it's good. Miriam, it's looking, yeah, Chris, your space looks good. There's these blues. Yeah. Oh, you all are the best. Okay, let's try to do one more question. Oh, this is kind of sort of, I guess, agent specific again, representation wise, but it's sort of a different aspect of it from Terry. Also, Terry always looks sharp in his studio. Check out Terry Briscoe. It's a beautiful setup. Yeah, his beard is also really good. David, do you need representation in the place that you live? Seems like I know Terry is from Maryland, just like me, and probably, and he's saying that he does not have representation on the East Coast yet, but it sounds like he's got it elsewhere. Does that matter? What do you think?
No, it doesn't matter. You don't need representation at all, much less in every specific location. There are lots of voice actors who have moved around the world and maintained their client base and representation from wherever it is that they originally had it. Um, for the most part these days, clients don't really care where you live, right? As long as they can get something through the internet, they're fine. So that's a terrific thing. If you want representation, then when you sign with an agent or a manager, make sure that their contract doesn't sort of limit you in any way, right? Sometimes a contract might say, we will represent you for the entire US or the continental US or for the whole world or for all of Maryland or something. And make sure that you check that location when you sign an agreement with someone. But yeah, but if you want representation in your local area, then go for it. Why not? And if you have
Mhm.
representation elsewhere, there might be a good bargaining chip, right? Because that's, let your prospective representative know, like, I have representation elsewhere, but this is the last place I'm in, right? This is my one hole, and maybe that will kind of give them a little incentive to bring you on.
One potential thing that might happen then is if they do a lot of in-studio auditions, and that could capitalize on your time. Also, another thought, like that you might have to be taking yourself to auditions that are more local.
Yeah, but it's pretty rare these days. We just had one come across our desk yesterday or 2 days ago, but it's pretty rare.
That's a
But
good
yeah,
point, David.
and that could be a good thing though. It could be a good thing to offer them.
It's true. It could, yeah. David, a New York agent I had was I had to be in person, and so much so that when I'm bi-coastal now, that they were like, yeah, we need you to always be available for these in-person auditions in New York City. So yeah, I know, wacky. Well, there's all kinds of stuff. um, Cool. Okay. So I also want to ask, because Dina made a good point too when I did the poll. Are people involved in LinkedIn groups? That is something that I have not even really tapped into, but do people socialize on LinkedIn? Can you just tell me in the chat if you socialize on LinkedIn or if you're active in a LinkedIn voiceover group? That's a really important aspect as well. I'm trying to gauge better how to keep people communicating um, off of, outside of events, and because it's like I don't know. I want people to continue the conversations. Also, Yen said that they volunteer for a small game developer, and I just think that sounds really cool. So try to be like Yen. That's really great. Okay. So let's Clara, this is a great question, and I'm gonna see if David can do it in 3 minutes. David, can you talk about voice training, a la theatrical voice and speech versus cadence style voiceover specific training? Um, so how much weight would you put towards one versus the other? Theatrical voice and speech versus, I guess, voiceover specific training. Is there a difference? What do you think?
I don't I don't really understand the question because theatrical and speech falls under the heading of voiceover training. If I was to break training up into, or even voiceover performance up into two categories or two buckets, perhaps, I think I would break it up by performance and technique. I would break it up by acting and technique. Uh, Technical. Let me use the word technical. There's the technical end of your vocal control, and there's your acting ability, and those I see as very different things. There are lots of voice actors who are technically they're wonderful. Um, Acting wise, not so hot, and sometimes the reverse. And it's okay. You can be very successful either way. And I guess I should explain the difference between those. Technically, a voice actor has to be able to follow the request that the client needs, whether it's pause for X amount of time between sentences, make sure your voice doesn't go above a certain tone threshold or volume. We need the script read more slowly or more quickly. We want to break here and so on. Whereas acting is the emotion, the tone, the feeling that you're conveying through your voiceover character. And one thing that is very difficult for voice actors is to control one side of that and not the other. And that is a pain in the rear end, guys. When we hire a voice actor and I'm directing someone, they might read the script and I'll say, I love the persona. The emotion is great. The smile was fantastic. Give us another take, the exact same smile, but technically speaking, you need to slow down. And then the voice actor slows down, but now they've lost the smile, the zest in their voice. And I say, well, great, you've slowed down, but now you don't have to smile. As voice actors, you need to be able to control the technical end of your voice and the acting end of your voice as separate components. Don't let one affect the other. I think that was my 3 minutes, so I better not go into any other conversation.
Amazing. No, I think you nailed it. I think training is important to consider from the avenues with which we're coming from and the places that we are going to. And often, stage and screen is part of that conversation, because look at these faces. We have more than a face for radio, y'all. Okay, I appreciate this conversation so much today. What a wonderful, inspiring session. It's really my pleasure to be with you all. Thank you for doing this. Yen, you did answer my question. I hadn't looked up to see the way that you find out how to scroll up, my people, if you want to see how Yen does their volunteering for game developers and things. David keeps reminding me to do this, and I'm now going to remind everyone out loud to do it. If you want to save this chat, the little ellipses at the bottom right is next to the word file underneath of your chat. If you click that ellipses, you can save it if you have comments or things that you want to know that you didn't write down. Amber, you are awesome. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for all that you shared with us last night. Dina, I'm so glad is here with us. She is just these people are just amazing members of our community. And please email me again if you would like to showcase your home studio space, especially if you think it's a little bit like it's new and you're just starting out and you're like, I don't know, am I proud of it? I'm learning, I'm sort of starting here. But I still want to share and inspire others to get started with their voiceover studio experience. Finally, I'm just going to drop all the links that I gave us at the very beginning here again. That's our, hello, did we make it? Oh, maybe I did it twice. Sorry, this is our link tree. There's our class schedule, our Investigate voiceover coming up, foundation studies, auditions 101, home studio 101 with Dan, the consults with Dan. Also, if you have never done any consultation or coaching at Edge, but you are curious, we do have our AMA code. That's for new folks only. That's the $25 off, and use the code with that link. If you've enjoyed time with David, which why would you not? You can book a session specifically with him, and you can do the $25 off there as well. And David's got stuff to do, and it's 2:01. So thanks everybody for being with us. Finally, really quickly, our free resources happen here. We will be back with you and our special guest, Art Bruder. That's going to be on the 17th of February. And I look forward to seeing all of you and your beautiful faces then. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Terry. John, you're always a pleasure. Andrew, you look great. Susan, thanks for your time. Dina,
I'd like to give
love you so much.
And a shout out to Amber also, who apparently is on the call. So Amber and Dina, who were both on last night. So thank you both. Yes, there she is. Amber just popped into my side of the screen. I love it. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all. David, you're the best. What a great session. Go live your lives, my people. We'll see you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.